Miss me? No? Well, you then. And on that note, it's fight night in this installment of On the Turn TV Treasure SATC. Fighting partners. Fighting impulses. Fighting any and all whispers of common sense. So lace up your gloves, don't forget to like and subscribe, and
let's get ready to rumble!
Freshly minted fiancé Aidan moves into Carrie's apartment, and it becomes apparent very quickly that roughly 36-year-old alleged adult Carrie Bradshaw doesn't actually understand what living with another person entails. Her grievances range from specific, such as bathroom door access, to abstract, like Aidan having the audacity to occupy three-dimensional space. She eventually lands on simply craving privacy to conduct what she calls secret single behaviour. You may be relieved to hear that for Carrie, this only goes as far as eating saltines and jam standing up in the kitchen, rather than, say, suspending yourself by your nuts in front of an open window and inviting passers-by to rate your form. For example. Mind you, I'll give Carrie this much. Aidan drives, isn't short on cash, and is presumably capable of looking up NYC's numerous storage units. Quite why he decided to turn the apartment into the kind of doss house even hoarders would consider exploitative to televise, I don't know. Maybe he hates her. I do. When they receive the news that their living situation is going to last a whole month, Aidan arguably kills their whole relationship a couple of episodes early when he suggests clearing out Carrie's closet to make way for his boxes of tat. He might as well have asked if he could start floss drying his arse with her scarf collection. When Pete expresses his own displeasure by customizing an irreplaceable pair of Manolo Blahniks with his teeth, a very enjoyable fight between the happy couple ensues.
You can stay here with your boxes of and your shoe-eating dog, and you can knock yourself out putting on the Rogaine and the Speed Stick.
I'd say that this is the moment when Aidan truly understands who he's just committed to spending the rest of his life with. I mean, just look at that face. Thanks to an accidental intervention by the MacDougalls, which we'll get to soon, Carrie does eventually apologise. She also asks for an occasional hour wherein Aidan doesn't talk to her, and she therefore gets her little oasis of privacy. Now, at the time of airing, I'd probably have had something to say about this. But age and experience are simultaneously wonderful and mind-bendingly harrowing things, and these days, that sounds f***ing great. I'll just be behind this sheer curtain, I guess, my throbbing all over a Vogue, all the off a 10-inch that's just been up my hairy or whatever it is that Carrie's planning on doing back there. What? Samantha runs into a problem this week. Tricky Dicky Wright is developing a bit of a thing for her. This is in part due to Ms. Jones' penchant for sending very mixed signals. For most of us, that would mean vague flirting. For Samantha, it means publicly rejecting him 30 seconds before s***ing him off in an office with glass walls. Except what Samantha does in public and what she does in private are very different things. Because her own secret single behaviour turns out to be basking in Mr. Wrong's romantic gestures. The first of which is a rose that apparently resembles his supposedly perfect wrinkle beast, which we are told means long, pink, and amazing, as opposed to sharp, green, and full of bees. The second comes later, when Ricky W. invites Samantha to a romantic rooftop dinner, which she quickly transitions into a naked swimathon. And for those of you who are also perverts, yes, I did go frame by frame, and no, I don't see what all the fuss is about. Richard eventually hounds Ms. Jones into a slow dance, which I already know from the comments on my 10 Worst Men in Sex and the City video that some of you think is super romantic stuff. I, on the other hand, get the distinct vibe that the only reason Dick is so interested is precisely because Samantha doesn't want to go there. She represents something he can't have. He isn't used to not getting what he wants, and so he pulls out all the stops to get her, like a greedy, privileged child. Or a Of course, that is easier for me to say when I know where it all ends up, but we've got a long way to go before we get to that. Adjust your pearl undercrackers accordingly, and get comfortable. Charlotte, having tried everything in her considerable arsenal to force Trey into fatherhood, deploys a more subtle technique this episode. Passive aggression. But when her behaviour has already escalated to the point of surprise overseas adoptions, it's hardly shocking that getting him to care about the cosmic gaps in her day planner ends up being a non-starter. In fairness to Trey, he is making an effort. Knowing he has a mountain to climb to cheer Charlotte up, he gets them orchestra seats to the producers. So far so good. And, oh, never mind. It's a cardboard cutout of a baby. Shut it down. It's unclear at this point whether this, frankly, batshit insane move comes from the same undiagnosed condition that causes him to bathe with his mother. Regardless, his little joke does call into question whether Patch Adams here is stalking around cardiology, dressed like a diseased heart and jumping out from behind corners to surprise his patients. Trey's condition has another flare-up when he crashes Charlotte's ladies' night and proceeds to re-explain his gaffe to the group, in a scene so loaded with cringe that even I had trouble watching it. And that's like my whole thing. Though it does contain what I would say is inarguably the best thing their entire marriage ever produces, when Charlotte asks Trey whether he'd have yucked it up if she'd presented him with a cutout of a big floppy flesh flute. The question goes unanswered, but if it helps, I would have found it hilarious. She relegates him to the spare room with their paper stand-in what is very obviously the beginning of the end for their marriage. Though I also would have accepted the following instead: their wedding, the first time she met Bunny, the first time his wang fell asleep, the day they met, the days they were both born. This week, Miranda goes on a long-delayed blind date with State Department interpreter and whole package haver, Walker, who has arrived several weeks and one pity too late. And before anyone comes for me, that's not a comment on Miranda's romantic viability as a pregnant woman. More a comment on her life being generally ruined by the 50% Steve-shaped parasite growing inside her. Glad we could clear that up. Besides, if anyone's throwing up hurdles in the way of her romantic future, it's Miranda herself. She worries that taking Walker to Bangtown with another man's progeny along for the ride might not only be a touch gauche, but potentially unsafe for the unborn hellspawn in question. It is difficult to reconcile savvy, educated lawyer Miranda with the person waltzing down the street wondering aloud if a quick trip to Disneyland might dent or shake loose the fetus. Particularly since, as Carrie points out, it's not like many of the show's men have ever or could ever be relied upon to drive a parade that show-stopping up her Main Street USA. Regardless, she decides to have a go on Walker before he buggers off back to Brussels, fearing it might be her last chance to thumb one in before Brady graduates. And I'd advise you to enjoy this high point for Ms. Hobbes, because next time she outs a closeted co-worker when he tries to do her a favour. Because this show is all about class. Last video's top comment goes to Alisaurus4224, who, unless I'm mistaken, appears to have dated a Republican senator. This video's question is, have you ever moved in with a partner or friend only to have it end in disaster? Let me know in the comments below. Either way, thanks for watching, don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember, if you can't be good, be crusty.